Hello and welcome to Boomer and Beyond Wellness. I'm Angela Fischetti. So today we're going to record a video for you that you can use interchanging them for both a warm up and a cool down. Because you see, it is advised for those of us who are 55 and above to do a proper 10-minute warm up prior to strength training. Now, maybe some of you don't have equipment that you can use at home, or maybe the weather is kind of bad outside, what have you. At least you have this video to refer to for both warm up and cool down, and also for some basic stretches. Now, for the stretches, it's advised that you hold the stretches for a minimum of 20 to 30 seconds each, for the body to register that they are indeed a static stretch. The accessories we're going to be using today, will be a yoga mat and I call it the yoga sticky mat because it does precisely that. I find that some exercise mats slip and slide. We want to make sure our mat is on an absolutely flat surface without a throw rug underneath, and then also a yoga strap. So let me show you the yoga strap. I like it for this particular age group because it is a soft fabric. It's not that hard synthetic stuff. So I'll demonstrate in a few moments what we're going to be using this for. Now, the medical disclaimers for today's session are going to be any back spine issues whatsoever in your entire life, all right? I'm not kidding you when I say that. You need to pay attention to the modifications that I suggest. Also, for those of you who have vertigo, GERD, whether you're medicated or not for hypertension, carpal tunnel syndrome, if you've ever had a stroke, rotator cuff muscles issues, they're deep within the shoulders, and pinched nerve. Now, there are thousands of different conditions and issues, but these are like the top 8 or 9 things that I have seen over my course of a 35-year career at this and at teaching this particular age group. This is what I see, so I'm going to call your attention to it. We're going to be working today on spine movements. In particular, the movements of the spine we'll be working on are spine extension, which is like a back bend, spine flexion, which is a forward bend, and then I'm going to also go a little deeper into spine extension for those of you who have the ability to do so. Also, lateral flexion, which is a side bend, and vertebral column rotation. We're going to lead from vertebral column rotation into hip rotation because all too often people confuse the two. They think they're doing spinal column rotation when it's actually hip rotation. So we'll get into that for you. We'll be doing both upper and lower body stretches as well. And do be mindful, they're going to be all standing up, because I do understand that oftentimes it's a big challenge to get up and down off the floor, but it is something to work on. It's important enough. So we're going to get you started here with those spine movements. So first off, I'm going to be doing things to the front, to the side. I might turn around and show you some scapular retraction, whatever. But we're going to start facing each other, because I want to show you how to truly line up hips width apart, especially the women, okay? Because when I say hips width apart, I get this. Not everybody is a linebacker, folks. So let's reel it in and let's get a little realistic here, okay? So we're going to find our high pelvic bone. It's called the iliac crest. Now, sometimes you might feel like a sharp bony projection. That's the anterior superior iliac spine. So you bring your hands to the inside of the pelvic bones. You point straight down, not toward each other with the hands, straight down. And I'm lining up my ankles to the knees to the inside of the pelvic bone. This is what is meant as hips width apart. Now I'm going to start facing forward, but I'll also turn to the side for you. lightly placing the hands on the thighs. The knees are bent, not a big deep squat bend, just a little soft, but the elbows are straight. I roll the shoulders back and I begin a subtle little back bend by tipping the tail up, broaden across the shoulders, lift the chin. Now, caution about lifting the head for those of you with vertigo, GERD, and hypertension. Also, those of you who have ever had a stroke, do not drop your head back. So we hold here in the spine extension, elbows straight, knees bent. And on the exhale, those of you with back spine, vertigo, GERD, and hypertension, you come up to neutral, while the rest of us keep the chin up, but we round the spine as if we're doing a standing abdominal crunch, and lastly, lowering the chin down. You're pulling the belly button in, visualize it coming out your lower back. Inhale, we come into that baby back bend. In yoga, we call it the cow, but it is a spine extension. And then exhale, moving into a standing version of the cat, the standing approach to an abdominal crunch, spine flexion. Notice how slowly I move. Inhale, open this all up. Exhale, let it round down with each other here, meeting the head to the toes toward the crown of the head. One more, inhale, spine extension. Exhale, spine flexion. Please stay here in the spine flexion. Draw that belly button in. Every time you engage that belly button, you are working the deepest of your core muscles, the transverse abdominis. It's like your internal girdle, your internal corset, and it kind of wraps around the side a little bit, going toward the back. And now from here, I'm going to slowly roll up. Inhale when I lift my head up to prevent orthostatic hypotension, a rapid plunge of the blood pressure. And then exhale, let's take some nice big shoulder rolls. A shoulder roll is lifting the shoulders, not pumping the elbows. This is doing nothing for your shoulders, all right? Now, because life is so full of forward flexion position, the computer, texting, the phone, right? All kinds of devices out in front. We got to eat out in front. We got to drive out in front. It's all done out in front. So I want to emphasize that back extension for those of you who can go a bit deeper into the stretch. So again, I'm going to start out facing you, but I'm going to bring my feet wider than my hips. Then I'm going to place my hands on the sacrum. Now I'm going to turn to the side, but I want to caution those of you with carpal tunnel, do not place your palm on your sacrum because it puts that wrist into extension. No matter what position of the arm, it's a wrist extension. Not good for carpal tunnel syndrome. So what we do is just make sure the wrist is straight, and you can use a soft fist. The whole idea is that I'm visualizing sliding the sacrum down toward my heels. Does the sacrum slide? No, it's just a visual. Roll the shoulders back. Those of you with GERD, vertigo, hypertension, stroke, keep your head straight forward. Those of you who don't have those issues, I invite you to enjoy this. And I just got a spine adjustment. I love it. Stretch those anterior front neck muscles as well. And then on the inhale, I'm lifting up on my kneecaps, slowly rolling up, hold steady, and then exhale to the shoulder rolls. Nice big shoulder rolls. So we've reviewed spine extension and spine flexion. Let's go for that lateral flexion, folks. Let's go for the side bending. So feet still wider than hips width. Toes, same line as each other. On the inhale, I slide my right hand down the outside of my right leg. Exhale, left hand to waist. Now stay here if you have a pinched nerve at the neck or rotator cuff muscle issue in the shoulder. Otherwise, you can take that left arm out, up, and over. Now notice, maybe you don't have those two issues I mentioned, but what if you have a limited range of motion and you can only go to here? That's where you go. And you keep the elbow straight. Don't do this thinking you're going further over. You're not. And potentially the shoulder, it may not like you for that. So we don't want the shoulder to dislike you, all right? So I'm reaching down through the right middle finger, reaching up and over through the left, stretching some of those core muscles, the internal and external oblique muscles. These get super tight and shortened, folks, as we age. So it's a very important stretch for you. Part of the abdominals. Now inhale, turn that left palm toward the ceiling, grabbing an imaginary hook. Exhale, push down into that outer left heel, vigorously reach out to the left to return to center. Inhale, slide down, turn sternum toward the ceiling. Exhale, hand to waist. Now, why do I turn the sternum toward the ceiling? Because I don't want to collapse the side organs. And we don't want the head to do that, folks. That's a real stress on the head. Just look out in front if need be. And if you have no issues in that shoulder, go for it. Arm up and over. Now, folks, any of the issues that I address, it doesn't mean you're going to cause those issues if you don't have them by doing the work. So please be mindful of that. Hips are forward, torso back just a little bit. Be mindful here of your ribs, the muscles between the ribs, the intercostal muscles. They're responsible for 25% of your respiratory cycle. Important to stretch them. Inhale, turn that right palm toward the ceiling, grab an imaginary hook. Exhale, push down in that outer right heel, vigorously reach out to the right. Return to center. Take some nice big shoulder rolls. Now I want to focus on vertebral column rotation. So first off, the hands are going to be here, not touching each other. No, not touching, but super close to the sternum, the breastbone, or close to the clavicle, the collarbone. That works as well. I'm going to bring the feet a little bit wider than where I had them. And on the inhale, I'm going to lengthen my spine up. I'm pressing into the outside edges of the feet, lifting my kneecaps to isometrically contract those quadriceps. Now exhale, as I twist to the right, I push down into the left heel, because folks, what I don't want to do is let that hip travel. That's hip rotation. We want rotation of the spine, vertebral column rotation. Don't crank it back through your right arm, thinking the further back you go, the better. No. Inhale, I lengthen. Exhale, I push into the outer right heel as I rotate to my left. Now I feel I have more rotation on this side. It's just information. I'm feeding myself. Inhale, I lift. Exhale, push into the outer left heel, rotate to the right. Inhale, lengthen. Exhale, push down into that outer right heel, rotate to the left, hold. Inhale, lengthen. Exhale, move through the center as you twist to the right, pushing into the left heel. Inhale, lift. Don't let those arms come out in front because that can make you fall. Exhale, push into the right heel as I rotate to the left. And then inhale, back to center, nice and tall. Exhale, lower the arms, give those shoulders a break because you were in an isometric contraction there. Now, I'm going to step a little forward here because I want to make sure that I don't hit my backdrop. Because for this next movement, for hip rotation, you want to make sure your space is uncluttered. So I'm going to go even wider. Now, For those of you with back spine issues, particularly osteoporosis and hyperkyphosis, if you've been told not big on the turning and twisting, folks, well, guess what? When you're at your kitchen counter, you turn and twist to prepare, but it's small. So I want you to think about the face of a clock, and visualize going no wider than 11 o'clock and 1 o'clock. So it's pretty small range of motion you're going to work with. So I'm going to demonstrate big and then the small. So just double check I don't knock down my backdrop, okay? So then I start an airplaning motion. Now that's hip rotation. Now I'm going to stop here because I want you to see that back heel is super high and we're lined up with the ankle, knee, hip, same line as my gaze. Same thing to this side, ankle, knee, hip, same line as my gaze. Now, for those of you with osteoporosis and other spine issues, you can do this, that hip's moving, but notice what I'm still doing. Bending my knee, lifting the heel, got it? And keep the arms loosey-goosey, because sometimes people do this like this. No, just let it be free, let it go, flop around, be a kid with it. And then I'm going to start to narrow it, slow it down. So that's all of the spine movements I wanted to teach you today. Now let's run through about 8 or 9 basic stretches. And so the first stretch is basically a shoulder girdle rotation. And you interlock the fingers. Those of you who have been told with hypertension not to squeeze the fingers, because this used to be told, I don't know if it is real current any longer, but I like to mention it just in case. So you don't interlock, you place one hand on the other. It'll work fine. So I'm lining up, hips width apart, interlock, long neck, shoulders down, soft elbows to lift the arms up and overhead. So my palms are facing the ceiling. I'm not looking for this. This is going to aggravate pinched nerve and rotator cuff. This probably will not. And if you have to lower your arms a little, that's what you do. Hold steady. And maybe you can just check in with your neck and slowly turn the head from side to side. Take your time. Now, those of you with vertigo, I'm not sure. Only you are going to know if you should do this or not, all right? Because we certainly don't want to make you get any vestibular challenges while stretching. I'm going to do one more to the other side, just checking in with my neck. Coming back to center, slowly lower the arms down. And now I'm going to take this into a stretch that's for the deltoids, the rotator cuff, and the long head of the tricep. So I bring my arm across, so this would be my left arm. At least you see it as the left. Hook right elbow above. So I'm pulling across, but at the same time, I'm depressing that left shoulder back and down. I'm not rotating. I'm not twisting and turning. Hold here. Remember that 20 to 30 second recommendation. It's always rather nice. Man, I feel this. Then from here, we're going to take it into a tricep stretch. So you bring the left hand on the left shoulder. Now notice, my elbow's pointing down for a reason. I didn't begin here, because if I begin here, I lose some of the range of motion within the glenohumeral joint of the shoulder. So you take a hold of that left elbow with the right hand, and you invite it all the way up. Now I'm going to turn around because I want you to see how the hand is behind the head, right? It's over. You can even press the back of the head into the arm. For some of you who might have some issues, you can use the wall for support. You can face the wall too with the elbow, and that can help you. And then I'm going to slowly lower and turn to the side just a little bit because I want you to see that the wrist is lower than the shoulder. Hand on top. And I'm pushing both into each other. Notice my right thumb is out. It's not tucked behind. hold here. Now we're stretching the extensor side of the wrist and forearm. Now turn the arm over to stretch the flexor side. However, I have to put you into wrist extension, the carpal tunnel, all right? So I'll show you in a moment what you can do. Actually, what you can do, excuse me, is remain in this position. That's what I want you to do. So hold here for the rest who do not have carpal tunnel. Don't yank on the fingers. Puff up the chest. Make sure you're not rounding over. And then lower the arm down. Let's isolate shoulder roll on that side. And then bring the opposite arm across and hook elbow above elbow. So I pull across while I depress the right shoulder back and down. This one is always the one that I'm like, yeah, man, I big time feel that. All needs to be an acceptable level of muscular discomfort, even during stretching. It's sort of like, oh, I really feel it, but it feels great. It's that good feeling. Again, this would be deltoid, rotator cuff, long head of tricep. And then we're going to go into full out tricep. Remember, elbow down. Let that glenohumeral joint get some of the love as well. So when I come into a tricep stretch, I'm not just thinking I'm stretching from here. I'm thinking I'm elongating that entire side of the torso. Breath in and out through the nose. Then I'm going to slowly lower down and let it dangle. Wrist and forearm extensors. Totally okay for those of you with carpal tunnel because you'll be stretching the issue. But when we go to stretch the flexors, not you folks, you stay in the extensors. Are you breathing when you stretch? Real important. It doesn't need to be heavy gasping. No. Just allow the breath to be natural. And then let's come to a unilateral shoulder roll. Not this, no pumping. Lifting the shoulders. And now we're going to come into what I call bliss for a bicep stretch. Hold off on this one, folks, with carpal tunnel. I'll get to you in a moment. This one isn't for you. So we're pushing out. Yes, you see how those wrists are extended. Contraindicated carpal tunnel. So my right hand is pushing the right wall while my left hand pushing the left wall. Nice. And now inhale, turn the thumbs down. Exhale, the rest of you, but carpal tunnel, come into this one where we draw the arms together behind us. For carpal tunnel, for the bicep, you're going to do what the ballet dancers do, all right? It's a little trick. They reach out through their middle fingers, and you're going to get a beautiful stretch in the entire length of the arm. That is inclusive of the bicep. So we'll join the others on the pectoralis and front deltoid stretch. Now I'm going to turn around here for you to the side. What we want to be cautious about is this stuff. People think they're going further back if they jut their head forward. Don't do that. Forward head projection, not in the stars for you, all right? So I'm going to grab my strap, and I'm going to show you here how to use the yoga strap for this. For those of you who might be super tight here and rounded, perhaps you do have that hyperkyphosis. So what you want to do is make this we want to hold on to the strap. Palm is facing behind you. And I'm thinking sliding my knuckles along the floor. Notice what happens, scapular retraction. That's the drawing of the shoulder blades toward each other. And I don't have to do this stuff. It just easily happens. Stretching pectoralis, stretching the biceps also, I feel that for sure. Stretching the front deltoid, front shoulder. And then gently release. Let's take a couple of shoulder rolls. Now I just want to show you a couple of typical standing thigh leg stretches. So we're going to begin with a calf stretch. So I'm going to come to the wall. I'm going to step back. And let me see here. Yes, I want you to see that better. So I'm going to step back. And you want to push down into that outer back heel. What you don't want is this, folks. It's not a lunge. I see it all the time. Holding here for the stretch. Don't want to turn the heel in or out. Just straight back. Belly button is in. Then we step forward. Step back on the other side. Whew, I feel that. Now I'm standing a little too far from the wall, but I want you to see the feet. I think it's important. And step forward. Next one is going to be the quadricep stretch, front of the thigh. So I'm going to face the side here for you. Actually, I'm going to face forward. Holding on to the wall or the chair. You're going to grab a hold of the ankle or foot, and it's a pelvic tuck. So we're not sticking the butt out. We're not doing Beyonce. We're not twerking, right? We're tucking under. But we don't want that front thigh to come forward. So let's show you this from the side so you can focus on that quadricep and knee. We don't want it out here. We want it back. Hold steady. Belly button is in. Now I'm going to do it to the other side. I'm going to show you another way how to do it for those of you who can't reach. Oh, I did my legs yesterday. Oh my goodness, I feel this. Big time feel this. Now, for those of you who can't reach the ankle or the foot, what you want to do is take your yoga strap, put it around your ankle. Be mindful that you don't trip on it. So you want to hold as close to the ankle as you can. Then you lift it up, pelvic tuck, but with a bent elbow, I now have the assist of the bicep to hold the leg up there. A lot of times I see this stuff like shoulder hiking with the strap. Don't let that happen. So this is just to show you another approach on how to do it. So we'll lower the leg down, and certainly if you are using the strap, do it on the other leg. So now you have something here to help you warm up and cool down. I'm going to tack on another stretch here because I want you to have something that helps open up those inner thighs. So for those of you who have the back spine issues, you might need to do this sitting in a chair and bringing your legs open wide. But for those of you who don't, we can bring the legs wide apart and pull the hips out, hands down, head up, and I lean into one side. So this knee is bending, the weight is back into the gluteal, toe is lifted here inside the shoe, so the weight is back into that heel. But we got a nice big stretch to the inner thigh. And then we're going to take it over to the other side. Then I come back up, hands to the waist. I pull the torso forward. Then inhale all the way up. And then exhale, you step the legs together. Let's go for a hamstring stretch here too, folks, while we're at it. So I'm going to step back because I want you to see the feet. So holding on to your chair, your wall, maybe holding on to nothing, depends upon your issues, all right? You bring that right leg out in front. Now I slide the hip back. Those of you with back spine issues, you're going to stay up higher, all right? We don't want that forward bend for you, that forward flexion. So my left knee is bending while the right knee is straight, pulling both hips back. Ooh, and then I have a big stretch, and you might feel it all the way down the back of the calf. The foot is what's called dorsiflexed. It's going toward the face. Oh, nice big stretch. I feel it all the way to the glute, no question. Now, bend the knee, put the foot down, and change up sides, right? So I'm going to bring that left leg out in front, knee straight, right knee bent, slide that left leg back. Now that's my real right leg. Oh man, that's always tighter. But you know, for our purposes here, it's the left. Right knee bent, left knee straight. Get that stretch. And yeah, I'm going to give you one more. Why not? They're coming to me. Let's do it. So bend the knee, foot down. Okay. So what I want you to do is now for some of you who have hip issues and knee issues, you might have to do this sitting on a chair, but you can. So we're going to bring the right ankle across the left thigh, and we're going to sit back. So it's like doing a number 4 stretch. It's a form of a pigeon, right? If you're a yoga practitioner. Big stretch, gluteals and lateral rotators deep within the gluteal, real good for sciatic issues because it runs through a big lateral rotator, the piriformis. Support the knee, and let's take it to the other side, ankle across. This one is, I can't even give you a description of how tight it is. Just is what it is. Now, if you have osteoporosis and you've been told that you can do this, okay, but don't push down with your hand. I wouldn't even advise doing it like this, but if you've been told you can, I would say don't give it an extra push. Oh, you see, for me, if I go lower, I get a deeper stretch. And then slowly up. So there's all your stretches, folks. Standing stretches for the upper and the lower body, plus all the spine movements. I want to thank you so much for joining me here today. And because you know that my approach to life is all founded in living a whole food, plant exclusive lifestyle. I'm going to remind you to stay hydrated with water, eat your greens, eat your beans, and have a fantastic day. Thank you so much.